And then just focus it on the screen once. Okay, so we're going to just finish up for this evening, then we can all have a glass of wine or a bottle of beer or something like that, just outside the back. The bad news is doomsday is tomorrow. So we're going to look at predicting the future for today, so a quick skim through this. So this is going to investigate how do we go about predicting the future, how do we know what the future's going to be, and what impact does this have on society. It's quite interesting on the synergies between the presenters today, where they're talking about things in different points of view, but with the same sort of problems that are coming out as well. So hopefully this is going to be a presentation full of deep and meaningful information, but possibly not as well. So, how do we predict the future? There's been lots of modern bad predictions. Back in the 70s and 80s, we were predicting the paperless office because of computers, and the paperless office started to use 20% more paper than the paper-based office. In the 1970s, when I was young, we believed we were going to be living on the moon by the year 2000, and spaceflight would be driving around in jet cars. And of course, the modern one, internet, will be the end of all printing. So, what some clever people have done about the future. Albert Einstein, I never think of the future, it comes soon enough. Arthur C. Clarke, this is the first age that's ever paid much attention to the future, which is a little ironic, seeing that we might not have one. Why should we predict the future? Henry Poincaré is from his Foundations of Science, says it's far better to foresee even without certainty than it is not to foresee at all. And Woody Allen, we're all interested in the future, for that is where you and I are going to spend the rest of our lives. So, what some inventors have predicted about their technologies is also normally entirely wrong. So, Lee DeForest, the inventor of the cathode ray tube, that was the development of television, is theoretically television may be feasible, but I consider it an impossibility. A development which we should waste little time dreaming about. Thomas J. Watson, chairman of IBM, I think there is a world market for about 5 computers. And here is a new prediction by them. Mind reading will be less than 5 years away for real. And that was earlier on this year. Don't know what that was about. Ken Olsen, the president of DEC, Digital Equipment Corporation, makes lots of computer equipment. There is no reason anyone would want to have a computer in their home. Time, 1966. Remote shopping, while entirely feasible, will flop because women like to get out of the house, like to handle merchandise, and like to be able to change their minds. William Thomson, Lord Kelvin, eminent British scientist. In 1899 he said, radio has no future. Heavier than air flying machines are impossible. X-rays will be proved to be a hoax. Some other great ones as well. H.M. Warner, Warner Brothers, the big film company. Who the hell wants to hear actors talk? And Winston Churchill, atomic energy might be good as our present day explosives, but is unlikely to prove anything much more dangerous. So, without stupid people, we'd have no one to laugh at. So, it's time when people give predictions about the future to say thank you, and you're probably wrong. There's only one true prediction. Life will never be like Star Trek. And that's by Scott Adams, who's the creator of Dilbert. So what is the future? So let's look at trying to apply technology for the future. We can have technology that can either be brilliant or stupid. It's either going to work, it's going to be engaging, or it's not going to work, and it's very difficult to tell the difference. The main thing is, how do we go about making predictions? And the best thing is not to look at technology. Predictions based on technology are probably the most unlikely ones to happen. I think Blipper is a great example of that. They're looking at, here's some technology, what can you do with it? This is what Ernest Adams was saying this morning. Don't worry about the technology, we can build that technology, but let's find out what we want to do. Technology is a tool that helps you perform the tasks. We can build more tools, but we need ideas. So what's more important is how we perform the task and why we want to do with technology and what good it will give anybody while they're doing it. So trends are a very good method of prediction. Look at what people are doing and then find technology that will enable you to do it. And then find a technology that will be the best and most efficient method for it. Don't look at a piece of technology and say that's going to be the future. Come up with a reason why you want to do something first. However, trends are also difficult to spot, but they are there. You have to dig deeply. One good example of a trend is how a trend can evolve from another solution that happened in the past. The first thing about predicting the future is look to the past. It's all been done before. There's nothing new in this world. You may be doing something new and imaginative with something, but the principles and theory and knowledge and usability of it have all been done in the past. So if we look at the iPod, internet MP3 files, music was portable from the early cassette days in the 1960s with music cassettes made with Sony Walkman. MP3 files were available. There are plenty of MP3 players out there, but only Apple made it sexy for people to want to have one. From discovering that trend of people want music on the move in the 1980s by Sony, did Apple in the late 90s, 2000s come up with a product people wanted to buy and use. It's exactly the same principle. I want music as I'm going around, and I want my own personal music space. So look at things that's going to capture the imagination in a new and innovative way and find technology that makes it better for them. Tapes were a nightmare. They used to get eaten and scrambled and used to buy new one. Digital also goes wrong and has other things. So, trends, not technology. A technology can create and enhance a trend. Trends can also create technology. So it works both ways. If you find something humans want, something they want to engage in, you can find the best way of doing it. It may not be technology, but it may be technology. Find a solution to the problem. Don't find something that's mind-bogglingly complex or clever in programming or gadgetry. Who's bought here a gadget and then binned it and never used it after the first 3 weeks? We all buy lots of gadgets, if you're like me. So 5 factors that dictate a trend. Look at the social aspects of what you want to do. Look at the economic aspects of what the form is going to do and what people are going to do. Then look at technology, this part of it. Look at marketing of it. We had some interesting things about marketing earlier on. And look at really the main purpose. Is this product going to do what you want, when you want, how you want, cheaply, easily, and unintrusive? If it's not ticking all those boxes, it's probably not going to be a successful product. Where are we at the moment? Well, we started off with computers, if we're assuming computers are technology. The early computers were phase 1 computers. Phase 1 computers, or Web 1, if we want to refer it to the internet. Web 1 basically took a printed page and made it available on a web browser. That's all it did. An email is basically typing a letter and sending it to someone electronically rather than sticking it through the post. It's doing what I do already in a new electronic digital way. It's just replicating tasks. There's nothing new in it. It's just finding a better way to do it. It might have benefits. It's faster, it's quicker, it's cleaner, it's easier. It's not in time, so it's asynchronous. Can have all sorts of benefits. So phase 2 or Web 2 technologies, what are we doing with Web 2? Web 2 are things like where we can have engagement on the internet. Facebook is a Web 2 application. We can talk to people in real time rather than sending an email. We can engage with, we can find friends, we can make networks of people, we can have this social aspect coming on from it. So Web 2 or phase 2 software enables you to help run your life, it helps you make decisions, and it helps engage other people and helps you communicate with other people in a variety of different ways. We're going to move on soon to phase 3. Now, I've been talking about phase 3 computing since we first started the Futures conference, and certainly since the year 2000. And it's one of the first lectures we gave at the Futures was Semantic Web, which is where I got another lecture on Friday. This is software that is intelligent and helps you make predictions. This is software that's going to tell you what you need to do rather than other people telling you what you need to do via Web 2. It's going to be intelligent software. It's going to be persuasive. It's going to be sending things to you that you want if your profile is right. Now, my profile on the internet is entirely wrong because I click on all the things I don't like because that's going to cost the people I don't like money. So, I love all these companies which absolutely hate, and so it just costs people I don't like money. So I like doing that. So I'm going to get all these adverts for things coming at me with things I actually hate. It's going to make my life hell. I'm going to have to stop doing this. So we're still only at the dawn of technology because we're still only at phase 2. We've still got technology to become intelligent, and there's still more developments to come over here. There's this thing I believe, I've got this theory from somewhere, I can find no one who does it, I believe it's my madness actually, this 40-year principle. If you look at any major technology, it takes 40 years for that technology to become mature. It could be funky, it could be useful, it can do the task, but it doesn't become mature and usable for at least 40 years. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples for this. Thomas Edison developed the carbon filament incandescent lamp, the light bulb, and the central generating electricity station in 1881. In 1920, Paris became the City of Lights. It was called the City of Lights before, but I'm not going to get into that argument. But City of Paris was the first city to be lit up entirely with using electric lights. And so it took 40 years for the electricity to become a useful, usable piece of technology that everyone can engage in. Of course there was electricity, of course some people had their own generating in their house. There was still stuff there, but it took 40 years to become mainstream. Let's look at the car. The automobile, from the invention of the combustion engine and the early developments of cars from there, where you had to have a flag running in front of them and you couldn't go above 4 miles an hour, it took 40 years until Henry Ford made the Model T Ford, which was the first affordable car for the public. So it took 40 years for that to actually happen. So, let's look at computers. Let's look at the internet. When was the internet developed? The internet was developed, depending on when you call it, starting, but the first research into an electronic network was around 1963. So if we consider that the internet became mature in 2003, what happened around then? Broadband. Suddenly that technology, you didn't have to wait for dial-up, you didn't have to wait for 10 minutes for an image to load onto your screen. Suddenly it became useful, it became usable, and it was adopted by everyone. So from the mid-90s, not many people had the internet. From the 2000s, everyone was on the internet. It suddenly matured and engaged everyone. Let's look at the computer industry. You can argue, when was the first PC? Any ideas? The first PC. Second World War. No, that's a computer, not a PC. The first PC is a desktop.
Very late 1980s, I would have thought.
The first desktop computer that you could put on your desk was 1972 with an IBM. You could argue it's the 1983, 84 with the development of the Apple, where it became the first usable and abstract and things like that. So you can pick your point in this. If we're saying 1972, this year is the year that computers mature. Look at these. It's replacing my computer. I'm doing everything on this now. So suddenly this technology, I'm not needing these big boxes and things to do stuff. Suddenly the computers started to mature. If you think it's 1980s, wait another 10 years, think what we've got there. It's going to become useful. So because we're using it all the time, because we're early adopters of it, we're still at the Model T Ford state of computers. So imagine what happens by the time we get our Ferrari. So some current predictions. We've got ebooks. If you're looking at ebooks, look at MP3s and how they became effective. Then ask why the film industry and TV industry have so much trouble with it. Look at e-democracy. Interested with the elections, looking at that. 24/7 communication, wearable computers. We're going to have computers embedded into us. Everyone's talking about that at the moment. It's become very fashionable again. Nano computers doing Computers with circuitry in there that is 1 atom thick. So we're getting to the end of Moore's law, so we're going down to atomic structure now. E-wallpaper, we're not going to have wallpaper and things, we're just going to have a big electronic screen where we can change the wallpaper whenever we want. We're going to have a digital house or a digital life where you walk into the room and it knows you walk into the room. It's no rocket science to walk into a room now and the lights turn on. 20 years ago it was. Ooh, the lights come on. But now it's just normal. We're going to have a digital house which will do it. We're going to have a digital globe. We can communicate and flow around, and we've got augmented reality and all sorts of other things to enhance our perception and give us a fake perception possibly of reality. But don't believe the hype of all these technologies. Many technologies are not successful. They come out, they make a big boom, and then they disappear because they're not adding anything. It takes time for some technologies to mature. So the good technologies is, here's a technology, find out what to do with it. It stuck a camera on a billboard in Westfield, a shopping centre at Stratford. It has a gender recognition camera on it for people walking past the billboard. They don't know what to do with it yet. Got a problem, get in touch with them. They want to know what to do with this gender recognition. How can we use that to advertise things on this billboard? And it's just an interesting thing. And don't believe all you read that these technologies are entirely successful. Don't believe the hype. Decide for yourself. Do your research. So a few years ago I made a prediction. We had a discussion, and the discussion was about ebooks and whether ebooks will or will not be a success. Let's have a vote. Who says ebooks are a success? Who says ebooks aren't a success? More saying, yeah, slightly more saying they're a success than not a success. Who doesn't know?
I don't really have a view. I think
One person doesn't know. Who's got an ebook? Less people have got an ebook than the ones who said the ebooks are a success. So that's an interesting analogy. You can argue what is an ebook as well. So my arguments were 4 years ago that ebooks will not dominate the book market. They'll only be a small percent of the market, and for decades to come. Not just in the short term, but for decades. The return on investment of buying an e-book is too high, so it takes too much time to reclaim money that you spend on books to pay for the device. Single function readers will not succeed, and people really like paper. So, if we put our hands up, who thinks that the e-book market is about 50% of the book trade? 50? Who thinks it's lower? Well, it's not, let's halve that. 25% of the book trade. Is it higher than 25%? Lower than 25%? Oh, I've got a few people who say that. So, let's look at what actually happens. E-books are 10% of the global book market. In England, they're only 6% of the book market. That's 150 million pounds on the e-books. But when you read e-book figures, what they do is our sales have risen by 360%. E-books are a success. What a tremendous upturn in the market for e-books. Well, when you sell one, and then next year you sell 4, I've had a 400% increase in sales. I'm a success. I've still only sold 4. So it's still not a very good market for ebooks. Digital books, when they're released in a digital format, sell more printed products than they would if they weren't released in a digital product. 50 Shades of Grey, if you're from France, I don't know if that's been released. Is had that phenomenon in France? 50 Shades of Grey. Yeah, it was. If you go to the Kindle and people, they will say this is the most successful e-book of all time. It was only released on the e-book until it got printed, and now it's the best-selling printed book of all time and broken every record compared to the digital book. So don't believe what they're saying. It's the fastest-selling paperback of all time. Devices now that are a singular e-book reader are dying a death, because you spend £100 on an e-book reader that just reads e-books compared to spending £150 on a mini iPad or a Samsung Galaxy or something that does all these other things as well, it's much more beneficial to carry one of these around, which does all the rest of my email and all the rest of it, than just to carry an ebook around and carry something else around. You want multitasking machines. The one good thing with ebooks is that currently the cost of the devices are reducing. It's now a lot cheaper to buy an ebook reader than it used to be. It was £180 for a Kindle, now it's about £80. So the return on investment is getting there. So in some ways the ebooks are becoming more successful as a hardware device, possibly less successful as a format, but they're still going to exist. So why should we bother making ebooks? What's the benefit? All the hype, everyone must be making ebooks. What's the benefit of it? There is no doubt in my mind that ebooks will be a technology of the future. We need to be building that technology now so that it can mature and we can find out how people want to use it, why they want to use it, where they want to use it, and make the product for them. I often moan, why doesn't my ebook read to me? Why do I need to read it? It's a computer. I can put languages into there. I can have Stephen Fry read me every book I want. Why isn't it doing it? But you've got to find out what people want. I might be mad and be the only person who wants Stephen Fry talking to me all the time. But you've got to find out what the technology is and what the trend is. The trend is we're going to read books. The technology will enable us to read books. How can we make that more engaging so that I will part with my money to do it compared to parting with money for a printed book? How do I browse books? Ernest Adams said, how do we get that casual purchase, that impulse buy? You go onto a Kindle book, you've got to know what you want before you want to. And you need to be there for the future, to be there today. So, final quote is novelist of Downton Abbey and the creator Julian Fellows. He says, I can't pretend I'm a great enemy of ebooks because every time someone predicts the death of the printed word, something new comes along to bring it to a new audience. Maybe augmented reality is one of those things that will enable it to happen. So, as a conclusion, it's impossible to predict the future, but not trying isn't an option. Be prepared to look long-term at change, human patterns of behaviour. They're the things. Work with the humans, find out what they're doing, find a better way for them to do it. Don't lie to your audience. They're not suckers. Don't tell them you've got 400% increase when you're selling 4 products. Don't believe what you're doing today will work tomorrow. You've got to be constantly inventing new technology, new usable products for it to be into the future. So thank you. I think it's been a long day. I think you all deserve a drink. If you'd like to make your way out the back door, there should, hopefully, be a bar set up with some beer and wine and some soft drinks and stuff, and help yourself and talk to each other and discuss how rubbish we all are. I'll see you tomorrow.